Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by Onyx Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is Onyx Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, Onyx Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about Onyx, go to onyxmaps.com/hunt and check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. All right, guys, if you're in the market for a new hunting rifle this coming year, look no further than a Kelbley's rifle. I've been rocking their Coda rifle for the last couple seasons, and I've had great success with it. It's an amazing shooter, and every time I put one of their rifles in somebody's hands, they're like, oh, I got to get one of these. Kelbley's holds over 92 world and national records that are either broken or set on one of their actions or rifles. So they really set a higher level of accuracy. If you want to know more about Kelbley's rifles, go to kelbley.com. That's KELBLY.com. Tell them Johnny Mack sent you with Soul Seekers, and go enjoy shooting that much more in this coming hunting season. Be blessed, everybody. Go check out Kelbley Rifles. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast, and Happy New Year as we are approaching very quickly into 2025. This episode is actually going to release on Monday, December 30th. However, this is the first episode of the new year and episode 300. Wow, I can't believe I've made it to episode 300. I can't believe y'all followed along from the transition from Soulful Hunter into Soul Seekers and beyond. And today's episode is one to kick you in the tushy. One, to get you the motivation, inspiration, or accountability that you're looking for. Last year, we kicked off 2024 with an episode called Don't Be a Bitch, and excuse my French right there. And this is part 2 of Don't Be a Bitch. Let's get into episode 300 with James Appleton from Seek to Do More. We're going to talk all about his journey, my journey within Seek to Do More. And the whole idea is to be a better human being, right? We talk about transforming lives through primal adventure. We talk about mentorship as conservation. We talk about doing all these other things for other people. And at the end of the day, if we don't put on our own oxygen mask first, then we're no good for anyone else. So we got to make sure that we take care of ourselves as we lead into 2025 so that we can be the best leaders, husbands, fathers, employees, business owners, and citizens as possible in this beautiful world that we live in. James is the host of the 46 of 46 podcast. He is the owner of Seek to Do More and 46 Outdoors Company, and just a phenomenal human being who has transformed his own life, and through his transformation is on a mission to inspire others to do the same. So without further ado, the man of the hour, Mr. James Appleton. How you doing, brother?
Johnny Mack, good to be back, dude. This is, I think, my 3rd time on your podcast now, so I appreciate you having me back again. Good times. I also want to second what you said in your intro there about we have to put on our own oxygen mask first. There's so much to that. We so often will, kind of help everyone else at the detriment of ourselves. But ultimately, like, if we're not strong enough to withstand what we need to, by putting our own oxygen mask on first, we actually are an ineffective help to the other people around us. So I think there's a lot to it's a very simple concept, something we often overthink, but you think back, that's what they tell you on the airplane for a reason. If you aren't filled with oxygen, you're not going to help the people around you. So I just wanted to commend you for that.
I appreciate it. So those of you who are tuning in this episode, James is a big hunter, but he hunts differently because he lives up in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, and he gets out when he can, and he puts his best public land effort to the test and gets after it. How did your hunting season go this year?
Uh, Terrible. Terrible, dude. Uh, I got out when we could. Yeah, up here in the Adirondacks, it's just a gigantic sprawl of wilderness, and the Northeast has its own style of hunting. Um, People don't really sit. I mean, sometimes people sit. I mean, I'll sit sometimes every so often, but in general, it's very much a like tracking in the snow and still hunting type of mentality up here, which is what I like. Like I like to run around the mountains, so I love to run around the mountains with a rifle in my hand too. But yeah, this season was just one of those years, dude, where it just wasn't happening. And it's funny because the few sits I did do, which I mentioned did a few sits, every single sit, every single one that I did, I had a deer at a different camera that morning than the camera that I was sitting at. So just but then other than that, we finally got snow towards the end of the season. Tracking in the snow is really what I enjoy, and that's what a lot of people do up here. It's just, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, when you're tracking a deer in the snow, you see the big buck track and you're following it. You know, at the end of this track is the buck. I have to just catch up and play the cat and mouse game. Even if you don't, even if you never catch a glimpse of the buck, like it's I mean, it's exciting from the like from the get-go. So, if you've never tracked in the snow and you wanna try a new style of hunting, cannot recommend it enough because you know that feeling as your heart starts to beat as like, if you're let's say you're in a tree stand and you see a buck walking up, like, your heart starts to beat. Dude, as soon as you see a fresh track, boom, it starts immediately. So, like, you get that dopamine for an extended period of time. Plus, you're on your feet, you're moving. I know some people like the tree stand thing. For me, I'm not a tree stand guy. I'm not a sitter. I need to be on the move, which is why I also hunt the way I do. But you get to cover ground, see some awesome land, and then bump bump a lot of deer too.
I love it.
But ultimately, it's fun.
Say that one part broke up a little bit right there. Say that one more time.
But I was saying, but you do bump a lot of deer every so often, but ultimately, it's a fun
I love it.
adventure.
Hey, question for you: when putting a stock on a deer, when you're tracking it in the snow, are you more concerned about the tracks and where they're leading, or the wind and your scent when you're trailing?
Wind is just irrelevant out here. I mean, the wind is constantly changing, so um, you just go. It's about like the quiet. It's more so you're more so concerned about your physical body. But I mean, obviously, like, yeah, the wind might not be in your favor, but that's where the track's going. So, and the wind constantly is changing direction. So ultimately, you can try your best, but the mountains are going to do what the mountains are going to do in terms of the wind.
I
So
love that.
you just kind of let
I
it
love
go.
that. I'm actually going to be releasing here in a couple weeks after this episode. So, probably episode 302 of the podcast. So, be on the lookout for all that, listeners. Is we're doing a blacktail hunting 101 episode, and we're tying that in a lot with whitetail hunting and heavy timber. So, the same thing applies. The guest who was on episode 302, he talks about if there is a snowfall, he goes, the best thing you can do is take work off, even if it's after hunting season. Even
Oh,
after hunting season, take work off, get to the woods on a fresh snow, find tracks, and trail them. And you're going to learn a lot about where these animals hang out at and what they like to do during the day.
yeah, 100%. What I mean that like up here when it's fresh snow, that's where everyone is. Everyone's going into the woods, waiting for fresh snow, or maybe it's just like my circle of people are all kind of that style hunter. But once it's snowing, yeah, life stops because we got fresh snow. But also up in the Adirondacks, I mean, we might have snow the whole month of November, or we might not get snow until the last week of November. It can change, and then higher up, the higher you get in the mountains, the more snowfall also. But you know what level, where are the bucks going to be at, what elevation, like there might be snow way up high, but they're not going to be that high. So it's a game. But when there's a fresh storm coming at, like, people stop what they're doing. So I second that. And also when you go out there after the season, exactly what you said, it shows you where they're going, where some good travel corridors are, what they're doing. And then for next year, you'll have so much better intel than what a trail camera is going to give you, and you also know, oh, this is where I should come back, or this is where that constantly are bedding. In the mountains, there's always changing compared to other terrain, but I cannot recommend it enough. Plus, get you out in the woods, get you on your
Yeah.
feet, burn some calories, do some huffing and puffing, run around the woods. Like, who doesn't like to do that? You don't always need a rifle in your hand, but it's a fun time to get out there in that fresh powdery snow.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, it's funny, you're really big into hiking, and you run the Great Range Athlete up there in the Adirondacks, and you spend time working with people to get them trail ready for the summertime, their fall explorations. Um, I was a big time backpacker and hiker for the longest time, and what I realized is hunting is hiking, but you get to color outside the lines, right? Hiking is always leave no trace and
Oh,
stay on the trail and don't disturb new areas and follow these rules. And hunting, you follow rules as well. I don't want to discredit hunters as like they don't leave no trace, um, but it's, well, where does this trail lead? I better follow it rather than staying on this maintained hiker trail. And that was one of the most beautiful
yeah,
things about
absolutely.
hunting that really opened my eyes. Is like, dude, we get to color outside the lines and really expand our horizons and see what's over that next ridge rather than sticking to the maintained trails.
Absolutely. There's a big picture there, like leaving the trail, going into the woods, and then seeing exactly what you said. Like, what is over that ridge over there? What is over there? When you leave the trail, when you stay on the trail, you miss a lot. So that's why I'm the same way. Like, it's the being in the mountains, running around, that is what is attractive to me about hunting. And then also, I'm a big giant unapologetic carnivore. So give me that meat, 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 meat. So it pretty much merges everything that is holy and sacred in this world. The mountains, running around, sweating, guns, and absurd amounts of fresh meat in your
Oh, I
freezer.
love it. I love it. All right, well, let's talk about carnivore here for a second. That's a great segue because this last year, when we had you on the episode a year ago, that's kind of wild to think. Like it was a calendar year ago. We talked about your program Seek to Do More and what it is. And I started January 1st, 2024 on the carnivore diet. I took that diet 45 days straight. I did a phenomenal job on it. I loved it. And um, and then I got off of it. And we're going to talk about the wins and the shortcomings of that experience here shortly. But real quick, give everyone an update on what is your Seek to Do More program and what's the purpose and goal of it.
Sure. Also, dude, props for you for the progress you've made this year, and even staying true to something for 45 days. Like, you committed to doing something and you did it. You saw it through. So, props to you on that. Yeah, that carnivore journey that you went on. But Seek to Do More, it's kind of like a Trojan horse fitness program. What I mean by that is, you're coming to me to get in better shape for outdoors adventure, whether that's hiking, whether it's hunting, whether it's just running around the mountains, whether you just want to get in better shape. But I take a holistic approach to it because I want to not just make you like stronger in the backcountry. I want you to also be a stronger man or woman in the four walls of your home as well, because you don't have a fitness transformation and it not also rewire your brain. And if you did have a fitness transformation but you didn't rewire your brain as well, there's some things that you missed out on. So basically, I'm here to help people become the strongest versions of themselves on the trail and off the trail, because that's how you build an actually a strong life top to
Mm.
bottom. The mountains never can go hunting again. We can never go hiking again. Like, life still has to continue, right? We still have to pay our bills. We still have to eat food and be good humans. So that's really the icing on the cake, honestly. So while I want to help you experience the enjoyment and the fulfillment that comes with the outdoors, that comes with the mountains and being in the woods, I also want you to bring that same version of you into your home and into everyday life, because I do think that we become our best selves, like out there, out in the woods, right? Like, that's where we really kind of have that mentality that is showing us at our best. So I want that in every aspect of your life, quite frankly. So that's really what the Seek to Do More program does. We don't just worry about fitness. We do but then we're also going to also build better habits so that you become a stronger version of yourself, top to
So what
bottom.
are the 7 pillars? I believe 7, right? That
Uh,
6,
yeah, it's a series. It's on seven. It's seven, the Lord's number, dude.
number of
Come on,
completion.
six,
You become the
the
7th pillar
Lord's
once
number,
you
dude.
finish the program.
Yeah. No, it's like there's seven daily commitments that I have people fulfill because these are all subjects of life that it's very easy to forget. But when you are making sure that each day you do, you know, dedicate a portion of your day towards certain things, these subjects, like nothing gets left behind. So the seven daily commitments are involve a physical commitment, a diet commitment, which is basically revolving around water and protein. There is a learning commitment so that your mind becomes better, a reading commitment so you actually your brain functions better, right? Like reading is not just to absorb the information for like to improve your quality of life. It's also so that your brain itself
Mm.
works better, so you can think better. So pure, like you do bicep curls for your biceps, so reading for your brain. There's a spiritual commitment because if we pretend we're not spiritual beings, I mean, the show is Soul Seekers, right? Like if we pretend that our spirit and how we show up in the world is not important, well, A, you're never going to be able to fix it when you are showing up as like the elevated version of yourself that you should and that you want to be and you aspire to be. And also, you're missing the bigger picture. So there's a spiritual commitment, and then there is a relationship commitment because if you don't also pour into the people around you who matter, well, relationships wither, right? So we want to make sure you're watering those things every day. And there's also a hobby commitment, a fun commitment, because life isn't all work, Johnny Mack. We also need to make sure we're doing things that are fun, right? That are like helping you reconnect with the 12-year-old version of yourself before life dulled your edge a little bit, before, kids and relationships and jobs and careers and the freaking government and the taxes and the more taxes, before these things dulled your edge, you were a cool version of yourself. So like reconnect with that. Have a little damn fun too. So that's pretty much where that comes from. But yeah, it's just these are all commitments that, you know, I saw other people in my life who had certain things about them that I really admired. So I created this like Frankenstein program for myself 3 years ago to run just to improve all the other aspects of my life. My fitness was like pretty good, could always be better, can always be better. So I saw different elements from different people, and I said, I really want that for my life. Let me add this into my day. Oh, let me add this into my day. And this is how this came. And, I do believe 100% that this is, well, like I created it. I don't feel like I created it. I feel like I just wrote it down. I do feel like this stuff was put into my head from the good Lord above that's what I'm supposed to be doing because who am I to do these things? But here I am and the business grows. I'm being blessed. Like, beyond what I deserve. So I do feel there's a bigger picture, and then I'm just kind of doing what I feel called that I'm supposed to do with this whole seek to do more
Yeah,
thing.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I said it all honest.
It was a real inspiration and jumpstart for me in 2024. I knew that moving to Texas and all the life struggles and challenges that I face, my life got a little out of whack, and it was time to recalibrate myself and ground myself into what I wanted, and to start really putting these eyes forward and be like, okay, what do I want out of 2024? What do I want out of my marriage, out of my career, future, my relationships, all that. And I will tell you that the diet part always it takes front and center. It seems like oh, I'm not eating right. I'm in. There's this level of guilt that comes along with well, I had a cheat meal, or no, I've been giving in, and it's this really weird dynamic that is within human beings of knowing what's right and then doing what's right or not doing what's right, and then how you feel when you let yourself down or you get out of alignment.
Yeah,
Do you see that a lot?
absolutely. I mean, that's really ultimately what we're doing. With seek to do more. Like we have these seven daily commitments, right? I just listed them. You do all these things every day, like you're going to improve your quality of life, right? Like you're going to focus, you're going to read, you're going to train, you're going to eat well, right? Like you're going to improve the quality of life. But when you peel the onion back a layer, you're actually building discipline because you're doing it every day. You're showing up regardless of how you want. You're building accountability for yourself because you're getting yourself to go. But then when you really peel the onion back, dude, just like what you're talking about, like you're building integrity with yourself. So you become the person who does what they say they're going to do. I feel like that's where that guilt comes from. It's like when you're misaligned with where the version of yourself that you want to be, or the goals that you have, or what you're trying to accomplish, your actions are misaligned. So you're down here, whereas like this is where you're trying to go. So that guilt comes when you don't really have that integrity with yourself. And all, I mean, it's hard, dude, especially diet, dude. Diet's hard. We are always in a place where ease and better tasting things are right around the corner, literally and
Yeah.
figuratively. So the diet component is undoubtedly the hardest part of the equation of just general health. So you're not alone in that. But I do think that it's just kind of being misaligned with where you're trying to go, and kind of having to snap the whip at yourself,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like you have to snap that on your own
I
backside.
will say I had a huge awakening beyond going through eating the carnivore diet, which I truly recommend
Mhm.
for everyone. It's like it's fascinating what it does to your body. Um, but there was a big awakening in 2024 for the populace about seed oils and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Sure.
and Make America Healthy Again, and understanding that the I don't know, the powers that be, the government, the however it is, are literally poisoning us with what they allow to be in our foods versus what's legal in America in foods and what's not legal in foods in Europe, for example. Like Ritz crackers, the the ingredients are completely different for what's sold as a Ritz cracker in Europe versus America. I saw this week some dude took a blowtorch to Oreo cookies for different time lengths, and they never caught on fire or melted. It was one was 1 second, one was 5 seconds, one was 30 seconds. He
Oh,
held a blowtorch to a Oreo cookie for a minute, and it never caught on fire, like, and never sustained and burnt up. And it's like, if a blowtorch won't do
fascinating.
that to an Oreo
Yeah.
cookie, then how is our metabolism supposed to burn that up?
Yeah, what's it doing in your stomach? Yeah, or not doing. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I mean, I haven't seen that, but it's absolutely bonkers. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing with our food? And it's crazy, dude. You become the person that says, "Yeah, I just eat like regular food, meat, potatoes, vegetables, fruit, rice." People look at you like you're the weird one, dude. What? I'm just eating like it's real ass food. It's just food. But yeah, it's by eating a certain way, you're always going to undoubtedly flip the mirror around on other people, even though you're not doing it on purpose and at all. It's not your intent at all. You're just doing your thing, but it is inevitably going to flip the mirror around, uh, so that someone else has to see what they're doing or not doing when you are kind of eating a certain way. Like when you were eating carnivore, I guarantee you had people, poking fun, asking you questions like, "You're crazy, dude. That's weird. That's unhealthy."
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
I went out to eat. I had a date night with my wife, and we went to a restaurant. And I was like, okay, well, what can I order? What can I order? I was like, okay. I ordered because I was like, I want something different than beef, so I went with pork. I had pork
Mhm.
cutlets, and I was like, hey, can you bring out as much extra butter as possible? And I just like dumped butter all over my meat. And people were looking at me
Sure.
like what? I was like, "Oh, and do you have any heavy whipping cream for my coffee? Because I'm gonna have a lot of heavy whipping cream in my coffee." And they're like, "That's not normal. That's not what I learned in public education." You know?
Oh yeah, dude. I have a lot of clients who are in their like 50s and even 60s, and I tell them, I tell them all the time because it never ceases to amaze me that the food pyramid is the biggest scam of their
Hmm.
generation. The biggest scam. The biggest scam of our generation is this idea that college is the only way that you'll or become a quality citizen and earn a living that you can
Yep.
pay for, or that can afford you a real life.
Yeah.
That's the biggest scam. We were perpetuated by the food pyramid, the food pyramid
Yeah.
piece there. Yeah. But anyway, the food pyramid is trash,
Yeah. Well,
absolute
there's
trash.
a documentary. Have you? I don't know if you've seen it. Called Fat Fiction, I believe is what it's called. It's on YouTube.
Mm. No, I've never
Look
seen
it
it.
up. James, I'm telling you, brother. So this documentary called Fat Fiction, it goes through the history of food in America, and seed oils started during World War One as a machine tank lubricant, industrial lubricant.
Sure.
And then they're like, well, now the war is over. What do we do with all this stuff? And so they transitioned into putting it into our food and using it as a cooking lubricant so that it didn't stick, right? And
Yeah.
then how everything became marketing, right? So like the TV show Mad Men. I don't know if you're familiar with that fascinating show. Goes through like the 30s, 40s, 50s of, and the transition from wholesome home cooked meals to microwaves and processed
Sure.
foods and food products, to the point where these food companies were creating the food pyramid rather than the actual food pyramid being like, who puts grains as the foundation of your diet? We're not.
I know, dude. Absolute bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
Everyone knows that you watch Jurassic Park, and in that beginning scene where it's like, protein is the building block of life. Everything stems from protein. So it's like, if you want to rebuild your body or allow it to heal itself or any of that, you're not going to eat grains. You're going to eat protein.
Well, you might eat grains if you'll eat protein if you want to actually achieve the results that you're looking for, or you might eat grains if you fall victim to, the narratives that continue to be perpetuated out there by, the trust the sciencers. Can I say that
Oh
on this
yeah.
podcast? The trust the if you want to fall victim to their ways, yeah, you'll trust their quote science. But if you actually want to get to your results, you'll have protein as the foundation,
So
no matter what. No matter what. Whether your goal is to lose weight, whether your goal is to gain weight, whatever.
so how heavy were you at your heaviest that you actually weighed yourself on?
I personally never saw the scale say 300. I probably had to have hit it at some point. But 296 is the biggest number I remember seeing on a scale in the morning. So probably was 300. I had to have been at some point. I don't remember I don't remember seeing it, because I remember in my mind thinking like I was always okay if I didn't, as long as I was like just under that 300. And now I'm just like, man, your level of your standard was real low. Old James, your standard was real low. But yeah, that's where I was at. Good
And
times.
what do you weigh now?
I'm 215 right now,
And how tall are you?
6 foot.
Dude, so you're technically still obese on the whole body mass index scale.
Oh, probably. Oh, I would have to assume. I get this from people all the time. I'm like, working with someone, they'll say, oh, well, the scale or this thing says that I should be, XYZ weight for my height. And I say, and then my next question is always like, and they're like, oh, isn't that what I should do? I don't know. I'm morbidly obese. I would say, well, if that's the case, you have an obese coach. I mean, does it matter if he can like lift this amount of weight or do this amount of miles in the running or in the mountains? Like, no, they don't take anything into account except a number, which is pointless, absolutely pointless. So yeah, I'm definitely obese from those scales there for sure, 100%.
I feel so much. It's not good to live life with regret, but being a physical education and health teacher for the majority of my teaching career, and being like,
Yeah,
yeah, food pyramid, food pyramid, um, dude.
propaganda, the propaganda
And
pyramid.
that just once again shows, and this is why I'm not a believer in public education, for the fact that it just we just reteach a teaching point, not actually critical thinking. I think it was John D. Rockefeller quote said, "We don't want critical thinkers. Um, we want hard workers. We're more concerned with
Yeah,
somebody being able to put in hard work and complete a task rather than critically think about whether or not the work that they're doing is actually accurate, healthy, important,
yeah,
innovative, whatever. They want machines, robots, the cycle continues."
correct. Yep. And that's easy to control, easy to just do what you want, easy to not ask questions, you know. Smart from it's smart moves from if you're a dictator, that's a really smart move to do. But ultimately it's exactly what's wrong with what we see before us in our country. It's why my kids are homeschooled. That's why my kids are homeschooled.
Man,
That and some other reasons.
yeah, we'll talk. There might be a second podcast at some point. I will say that, like, the hours in the school day in Texas versus state of Washington are longer. The kids are in
Uh-huh.
school for so long. And then I find myself like, well, what are you guys doing all day? We're like, oh, well, we got to play some video games on a computer, or we got to do this. I'm like, yeah, of course the teacher's just doing babysitting stuff because it's hard to maintain. And they only get one recess as well and a 20-minute lunch. And they're
Mhm.
in school for an hour longer than what they were in the state of Washington. I'm just like, this is criminal.
Yeah. Public school is daycare though. That's really what it is. It's daycare. Get everyone out working, doing their kind of mindless rat race, and then put the kids in school doing their daycare for, government propaganda, and everybody becomes a faceless drone, a nameless drone too at that point. But let's not dive into that subject because I'll never stop. I'll never
Uh,
stop talking about that.
oh man, I love it. Okay, so uh, we talked about the carnivore diet. You are more of a whole foods diet, right? So like when you are eating, and the big thing is you're focusing on protein, but do you just eat anything that's not processed? Is that really your diet constricts of?
I call it the RAF diet over here at Seek to Do More, which is just the real ass food diet. Just eat real food as much as possible. So I prefer a simple approach to things like diet. I want to know that I can maintain this whether I'm on the road, whether I'm at home, because like my whole journey has been from the perspective of somebody who is constantly coming and going for work, traveling for work. Sometimes I'm gone for months. Sometimes I'm on the road back and forth, you know, days at a time, weeks at a time, months at a time. Never like I have never had a set schedule because of my constant comings and goings. So I needed to develop something that was easy to maintain regardless, because ultimately you're always in charge of what goes in your mouth. What you eat is no one forces something. Sometimes there's not good options, so you have the choice of like, okay, do I not eat or do I eat X, Y, and Z that is here? So like, you make that decision for yourself. But I feel like just eating real food makes it really easy. So like you eat meat, you eat, you know, vegetables, fruit, and you don't need to eat vegetables, but if you want to eat vegetables, you can eat vegetables. You don't need to though. That's more propaganda that has been put down on us. But the meat, fruit, vegetables, rice, potatoes, like they're just real food. Like there's one ingredient in it: beef, chicken, broccoli. So like that's kind of what I look for. And then when I'm on the road, it's easy to just look for those things no matter where you go. You go out to eat, you go to a restaurant, you're on the road, you're at a gas station, like you're going to find what you're looking for, right? Like if that's what you're looking for, you're going to zone in and zero in on that. So that's how I would that I eat. But I also am also well aware that pizza is life. Like we're not going to live life without pizza, dude. I'm not going on my life without pizza. So with that in mind, I'm a big believer that you need to, if you do eat the way I said for 80% of the time, 90% of the time, and then the other 10, like, yeah, you go to the friend's house for the barbecue. You enjoy the stuff. You have pizza night with your family. You go out to eat. You have the holiday. You just do that long term. Eating and diet is very simple, requires zero thinking. It just requires some sort of discipline and strategy, but ultimately it's very
Mm.
easy. You still get to enjoy the stuff sometimes because it's not always time for that. If you want to enjoy it all the time, cool, you'll get the results that come with the enjoyed all the time mentality versus the results that come with like the disciplined approach while still having leeway to have those amazing things like freaking pizza, because pizza is life. Let's be honest, pizza is life. We don't want to live without pizza.
Pineapple on pizza?
Oh no, dude. Who do you think I am? ridiculous. It's like literally ridiculous. And I am a huge pineapple eater. I mean, it's, buying a pineapple once a week is on my wife's grocery list. Like that's just, she always grabs a new pineapple. So I love it. But why in the world would I want to mix that with tomato sauce and cheese? Why would I do that? In what world would that be something that I would say, let's do that?
You're hilarious. I love it.
Although I'll tell you ready for this? There's a tuna fish and lettuce has become like a big pizza over here in the Northeast. Like any pizzeria, you'll see slices that are like tuna fish and lettuce, and it's like this like thing. It's like a new thing, I guess, that people are eating. It's like gross, dude. Gross. Tuna fish and lettuce pizza. Hard
Sounds
pass.
horrible.
Yes. I'm not kidding you. You see it. You see it almost every pizzeria.
Oh my gosh, that's brutal. All right, so one of the things that we the diet's so important, and people are like, oh man, I cheated. Well, beyond the diet, and I like what you say is like you hone in on what you're looking for. I say it on this podcast, you get what you want. If you want it bad enough, you'll stay focused on it, and then you get the results. I have not wanted my nutrition bad enough this year. That is something that I have slacked on. But what I have wanted in my life is discipline in the ability to create routine. I have done things in my life, and this I want to make sure I say this properly. Yes, we all wake up. Yes, some of us make our bed. Yes, some of us brush our teeth and floss. Yes, some of us shower. Like there are things that you do every day without thinking about it. But this year, I every day committed to working out. I every day committed to reading a physical, tangible book, not just scrolling. And as takeaways from your program, those were my biggest hell yeah moments. Because a lot of people can say, well, hey, I've gone without stuff for an entire year. Like I stopped drinking alcohol for an entire year because I was like, well, is this making me a worse person? That's to be determined. But I didn't feel any better or any worse by not having alcohol for an entire year. Looking back and saying, wow, I worked out every day this year and I read a physical book every day this year, made me a better person. Like I am better for adding that to my life rather than taking something and retracting it and subtracting it from my life. Those are huge wins, and the momentum that I've gained from that has been like, okay, I've done it a year. Now what? Like, might as well just keep going.
Well, you show yourself what you can do, though, which is an amazing thing when you show yourself just how consistent you can be, just how disciplined you can be. And yes, you then start to apply that same thing to another subject, to a different subject over here. Because when the physical fitness is what builds that ability and that confidence within yourself, because you're doing something that's hard that no one's making you do. Life will go on for the most part, whether you're physically fit or not. Our bodies are amazing. You'll still keep going. You might live a lot shorter and less enjoyable life with more problems, but you'll still be alive. And that, for some people, that's their standard right there. I'm alive. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to live a little bit to a slightly higher standard than that out of my own choice. You do you, but you've shown yourself how consistent you can be with the reading and the training, and also just how strong your body actually is. How many times are people like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, that's too much. You need your rest. As Arnold said, what was I doing when I'm sleeping? I'm resting. But anyways, I commend you. I'm proud of you. Kudos to you for sticking to it and letting it rock and roll. And you're going to see the benefits from it. Reading is going to keep your mind to work better. We live in this world filled with scrolling and skimming, never actually honing in and focusing, absorbing like a sponge the information we see. Reading is going to help you do that, obviously. And it's doing the reps for your brain, like bicep curls do reps for your biceps. Mm-hmm. So props to you.
I appreciate it. Well, yeah, working out every day. There's a couple days, and this is really the most fascinating journey. Is I faced injuries in 2024. I had a displaced rib probably in the month of March or April that was causing my commitment to working out was 100 burpees every day. Now, I will say, not that I'm one-upping myself, but I always did 101 burpees because
There you
because
go.
like what's the point of just stopping at 100? I had a couple days I probably went to like 110. My kids were like, "How many burpees can you do?" I'm like, I mean, I really could just keep going, you know.
Absolutely. How many can you do? Like, find out. I'll tell you how many you can do. You can literally just keep going and never freaking stop. And when you push yourself and do something like that and push yourself to that brink, you will shatter your ceiling on what you realize you are actually capable of. And it will be mind blowing. It will be inspiring for yourself, and it's also going to just be you're going to be confused at how strong you are, but you didn't realize it until you were forced to push yourself. So there's a New Year's Eve challenge for you. How many burpees can J Mac do in 24
Oh my
hours?
gosh. I mean, I'd have to disregard everything else in my
I don't.
life.
I don't want to put that. I would say I don't want to put that evil on you right now. I'm not going to officially challenge you. I'm just because I know you'll be like, crap. I got to do this thing now. I don't want to do that to you. But imagine, just imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, everyone always puts like time bound as this measuring stick of ability. Time has its moment within ability, but it doesn't dictate. My kids were trying to talk to me about speed and time. I was like, "Hey, how long will it take us to get this far?" And it's like, "Well, those are two different things. If we travel at a different speed, the distance doesn't change, just the amount of time it takes to get to that distance changes." That's a lot with working out. Is like, well, I did a 100 burpees a day challenge in the month of April to get people to join me, and a lot of people
Yeah,
they just fizzled out. They were like, "Oh, yeah, I'll do
yeah.
it," and then day 6 rolls around, or something got in the way. And what I realized is there was a lot of nights that I got home at like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and I didn't have my burpees done yet. And the last thing I wanted to do was go put my hands on the ground, and that was the hardest part. The physical
Mhm.
burpee is
Yes.
hard, but the hardest part is that first one where you're like, "Okay, I got to put my hands on the ground and get down into that push-up position." Um, but I did it, and then I'm like, "Hell yeah, man, I did it."
Amen. That's it. And dude, you did not want to show up for yourself at that time. Again, that's how you build actual mental toughness is because nobody's forcing you to do it. Nobody gives a damn if you keep doing it. You have to care solely for the reason that you committed to doing something. So if you can't hold yourself accountable to the things you commit to do, well then, again, this is like the integrity with yourself subject. Well then what are you doing? Because you can't hold yourself accountable, then honestly, like, as people, like, what good are we? We need to hold ourselves to that standard and be pushing ourselves to be men and women of our word to ourselves first and foremost before we're going to be to other people. So again, those nights, dude, that's how you build that mental toughness that we all talk about and all seek. That's literally a way that you do that. And that's why I would seek to do more, dude. I put more focus on building up than the actual fitness because the training is the easy part. Getting yourself to show up when you don't feel like it or when life is busy or you're tired or you hurt, that's the hardest part of the equation. It's not what sets and reps do I do. As long as you show up and do some sets and reps and like push yourself so it's hard, yeah, you'll be fine. But getting your brain to say, all right, we're going to show up. We don't feel well or XYZ happened today. There's all these excuses we could give ourselves, but we're saying we're putting a stop to that excuse we tell ourselves. That, my friends, is when you get to the goals
Mhm.
you have, because that's what it
Yeah,
takes.
I found some of the struggles that I face over the last calendar year of doing workout every single day is
Hmm.
when we're with ourselves, it's easy. When our lives interact with other people's, it makes it challenging. And so we went on Mac family road trips this year, and my family went on a cruise this year. And it's like, all right, babe, sorry guys, before we do this or before everyone goes to bed or somehow I have to get my burpees done. And this caused
Yeah.
a little friction in my marriage at times. Like, oh, you're only thinking about yourself. You're only thinking about yourself. It's like, no, I'm thinking about us and I'm holding myself accountable to make sure that I demonstrate for my children and to you that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Um,
Yeah.
and but that like even through a whole year, even in the month of December, my wife would be like, "Oh, you just want to do stuff on your own time. Fine, I'll do it myself." It's like, "Babe, wait, calm down, chill, relax." Like, yes, maybe my timing at times is not the best. Maybe I do need to wake up earlier, or maybe I need to, do 10 now and 10 later, and spread it out throughout the day. Um, but that was one of the challenges. Like you interact with other humans, especially if in your own home, and it does
Yeah.
affect other people. So how that's a big part of one of the things is your relationships. I love how you tie that in with the seek to do more is yeah, it's about your physical commitment and your spiritual commitment, but it's also your relationship commitment. So how do you merge those two?
Well, because I just think that like a physical fitness is the catalyst to improve every other aspect of your life. Like it's the lowest hanging fruit. You improve your physical fitness, you show yourself that you can push yourself and do things that are hard. You can show up when you don't feel like it. Oh, I can actually like have a goal, see it through. Wow, I am stronger than I think I am. And then you become more confident. You get that little chip on your shoulder, that little swagger, and then that's going to help you become a better version of yourself at work, for your loved ones, for all these people. Like you just become a better version of yourself when you feel confident, like from a physical fitness standpoint, you feel good, you move well, like it all benefits, it all helps. And when it comes to relationships, again, it's like we're putting so much focus on improving you holistically with seek to do more. Yes, so you can enjoy the mountains and do the stuff, but also so that your spouse can enjoy you. You can enjoy your spouse. Your kids can look up to you. Like there's so many reasons why fitness is bigger than just freaking sets and reps and
Yes.
exercises. And I think because I take this kind of viewpoint, which is because that's what I've lived, over the last 10 years of like transforming my life, um, which began December 14th, 2014. So we're just over 10 years since I sent out a text message that was the beginning of the Rocky theme music for my own need for transformation.
Yes.
And that's it. You have to, if you improve everything and you think of fitness as you're improving you top to bottom, inside and out, then you actually build the longevity that you need. Dude, I know three different people in my circle of friends who have lost and gained 100 pounds in their life. So they lost 100 pounds in one like stretch, and then they gained it all back. And they lost all three of them. Same story, really fast, doing the things that don't create longevity, doing the things that like don't really rewire your mind, or they didn't do it long enough where your mind does get rewired, or you're focusing on also, okay, so it's like you lost 100 pounds. Cool. Okay. Why though? Like, what is this going to improve? Let's make sure we're also improving that over here. Then let's improve the version of yourself that shows up to your kids or shows up in your house, or, oh, you showed yourself that you can be committed and be consistent and lose all this weight. So let's also take that and apply it over here
Mhm.
too. What you learned about yourself, let's apply it over
Yeah.
here too. And like, if you don't do that, yeah, it becomes so easy to just fall back into the old stuff, right? Old habits die hard. And then, there's also the old adage, like what you did to lose it, you have to do to maintain it. So it's another reason why I preach like till I'm blue in the face. You got to keep your foot on the gas pedal. I don't know how many times you've heard me say that to you, but you just do. Sadly, life is like this uphill battle that if the second you take your foot off the gas and you're driving your car immediately starts rolling backwards. It doesn't just, we don't just like make some progress and stay there and like that's our new floor. No, no. The second you stop, you're rolling backwards slowly at first, but then it picks up speed. Same ideas like what happens with yo-yo dieting. It's what happens with habits. It's what happens with relationships. when you let your foot off the gas, you're going backwards. You're not staying
Right.
plateaued. It doesn't work like that. You still need effort to stay
Yep.
plateaued, right? To keep your car like on the hill, you still got to give it a little bit of gas. And I think people have this misconception that I can be cool for a hot second and be consistent and then just stop and I'll stay there. But sorry, you got to take that up with God why that's not the case. I wish it was. That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome if you could like make this progress and that's your new floor. Nothing will ever change, but ultimately that's not it. And I do think there's a bigger reason. Why is that? So when you start to really dissect, like, why is that? And it's like, oh, because you got to keep on grinding. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep holding yourself accountable. Keep showing up. You can't just do it once and all of a sudden you reached a new level and you stay there. You got to keep yourself there. And I think this is really where that mentality of being consistent and my three friends why they've lost 100 pounds and put it back on. And of those two of them have done it twice now. Like they have lost the 100 pounds again. So I give them some props, but it's amazing. But it's like you have shown yourself you can do it. You just have to do it again. But I'll tell you, talking to both of them, they see that now. They see how they let their foot off the gas, and that's what causes these things, to come back
Hmm.
ultimately. So they won't. I can guarantee you, they're not going to let it happen
Yeah.
again. Massive amount of work.
Man. Well, I mean, that's hard on your body, right? Lose 100 pounds, gain 100 pounds, lose 100
Probably, yeah.
pounds. Like, that's got to be challenging for for your head and but also for your heart and your health.
Oh, for your head. I can assure you, one of them, my friends and I, and one is his brother, we were very concerned about his mental state because that's a lot. That's hard. That's hard to
Yeah.
deal with. We lose 100 and put it back on. That's mentally just demoralizing. So props to him for uh, lighting the fire. Get
Well,
back
can I
to it.
just I want to give a little shout out to my wife here and then also to one of your members of Seek to Do More, Mitch Ryder. Awesome guy. So, check this out. This is an accountability story, a success story. So, I released an episode podcast with you last year, January 1st, 2024. It was in the month of, let's see here, Memorial Day weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend, and I was camping with my wife and children uh, at a campground, a Jellystone campground in Texas. And I was already 100 burpees a day, crushing it, reading, doing it. And this was going to be my big challenge. Like, how do I fit burpees into a campground and the dynamics of a little tiny trailer or like all that. Well, next to me, a campsite next to me was this guy Mitch Ryder, and he would sit in his chair in the evenings and we'd chat a little bit, but sometimes I was more focused on just staying within my squad and being dialed in and get the kids to bed and my wife, and I'm like, oh, I need to do my burpees. And I told my wife, it's like, man, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where I just, I miss a day because I just wanted to sit down around
Oof.
the campfire and hang out with my wife. And she was like, you're going to let that stop now? And my wife was like, do it. And so I got in every night at the end of the day after the kids were asleep. And when I wanted to hang with my wife and spend time with her, I was in a bathing suit in 90-degree humidity heat of Texas, knocking out my burpees next to a campground where this guy Mitch was watching me every night, being like, "What is this guy doing?" And we ended up talking. He found the episode that we did, and he ended up joining Seek to Do More. And he's had a huge transformation this year, and it's really inspiring to see what
Yeah.
he does. But it just goes to show that when you hold yourself true and you stay true to yourself, and the other people, you have people that support you to stay true to yourself. It even when you think you're not impacting others, you are, and that is the constant reminder.
100%. Dude, think about this though. Think about the butterfly effect of that. So you started this challenge for yourself. it inspired your wife enough to even like encourage you to keep going. She found inspiration through that by saying like, no, you can't just let this slide. Get out there and go. You then impacted a total stranger by showing your consistency to do that. He then signed up, talked with you, listened to the podcast episode. He called me. He joined Seek to Do More. He lost a bunch of weight, reclaimed his own discipline in his life, running half marathons now, you know, reclaiming like his old self. And by him doing that, his wife has now also joined Seek to Do More. So it's amazing what the ripple effect happens when you hold yourself accountable for what people who are watching you that you don't know are watching you. It never ceases to amaze me. The people that will come out of the woodwork that saw the work you're doing, you had no idea, and they found inspiration through it. So that's another you don't need to hold yourself accountable for other people, but like I say, hold yourself accountable because I guarantee you other people are
Mm.
watching, regardless of if you realize it or not. You don't post about it, you don't talk about it. Dude, I've always been a work in silence type, but then people will just tell me they've been inspired by XYZ, and I'm like, I never post anything on social media, before like the business thing. I never would post anything about training, fitness, nothing. But people just see it. They just see you doing the stuff. Or they see there's a difference about you, the way you carry yourself, like all that
Yeah.
stuff.
It's the ultimate success story. And that's the thing is like, and that's why, we talk about the mentorship aspect within Soul Seekers is that you never know what soul you're going to impact and what trajectory you're going to leave on somebody's life that really, maybe it's 5 years down the road, maybe it's 10 years down the road, whatever it is. And they'll be like, I remember this one time I was camping and I saw this guy put his hands on the ground and get down to push up position and get back up a
Yeah.
100 times. And while I was sitting there drinking a beer, hanging out, you know, and
Yeah.
that is like that. Yeah, that's my success story, but that's not even his perspective. Like, what I'd love to hear what his perspective of that is
Sure.
to then set his journey ablaze. And it's so cool. It just goes to show that you can never outgive good when you are being true to yourself, being good to yourself, and being good to others. It naturally just sets the world ablaze, and that's the beauty of Soul Seekers.
That's it. You don't sharpen a knife to throw it in the drawer. You sharpen a knife so that you can start cutting with it.
I say that one more time.
I say you don't sharpen a knife to leave it in the drawer. You sharpen it so you can start cutting. You're not going to improve upon yourself and not also impact the world around you because ultimately at that point, like who cares? Like what does that matter? That's just selfish, right? Like no, we have to impact the world around us. You can do it and the best way to do it is by not trying to do it, by just holding yourself to do what you say you're going to do. The whole element of like inspiring others around you is going to happen naturally and more authentically in
That's
that regard.
beautiful. Well, in the spirit of holding people accountable, if they want to get a hold of you, if they want to get connected with Seek to Do More, they're intrigued enough to be like, all right, I'm ready to kick off 2025 this year. I want to be the best version of myself. I want to dominate the woods, whether it's hiking, hunting, um, just being an awesome individual. How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, James Appleton. My Instagram is James Appleton 46. The Seek to Do More Instagram is at Seek to Do More, or you could just go to seektodomore.com and book a call with me, and we can chat, see what you got going on, what you're dealing with, what you're trying to go, your goals, and if you feel like Seek to Do More is right for you, we can kind of discuss it at that point. But yeah, seektodomore.com or Instagram would be the best place to
I
find
will
me.
say, guys, every now and then it's nice to have a catalyst in your life to get you going. And sometimes looking at yourself in the mirror isn't enough. And sometimes you need a coach or inspirator or somebody who's just constant in your life to be like, hey, did you do it? No guilt, no shame. Just did you do it? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Did you stay consistent? And did you continue to show up? So that has been a blessing. It blessed my life. And because of that, I want to share it with all of you. And hopefully that you get to be inspired and see transformation in your own life and see a better life in 2025, right? Like our goal is to continue to get better. And if we're not getting better, we're getting worse. And so staying consistent only shows you and everyone else that life is worth it. And that's the goal. So,
Amen. Well said.
brother, I love you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your journey, your story. And I'm really excited about what stuff you got happening in 2025 and beyond.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Always a pleasure to see you pop up on the Seek to Do More men's team thread. Just always a pleasure. You're always smiling. You're always got a good vibe, a good energy about you. I appreciate you very much.
I love it.
Keep up.
Thank you, brother. And Mitch, if you're listening to this podcast, congratulations, brother. Really proud of you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Let's kick 2025 right in the nuts. Let's just make it our little BITCH. As I forgot to mention why we even title this Don't Be a Bitch podcast is when you complete the Seek to Do More 30-day recalibration program, you get an official NAB card, and you get to put that in your wallet as you are an official NAB card holder, and that is official, not a bitch, because you have taken control of your life and really reestablished yourself and rooted yourself in consistency and excellence. So for James Appleton, Johnny Mack, be blessed, be of good cheer. Dominate 2025, set goals for yourself, and keep your eyes on those goals. Just like when Peter stepped out of the boat, when Jesus called upon him onto the water, when he focused on his goal, he didn't sink. But when he took his eyes off the prize, he started to sink. And then that is a perfect representation of what you need to do. Regardless, if you are focusing on a better diet for 2025, stay focused. If you're focusing on fitness for 2025, stay focused. Maintain. If it's relationships, spiritual, physical, emotional, whatever that is, stay focused. You got this. We're here to support you. For James Appleton, Johnny Mack, be blessed, freedom on, and as always, stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.